This is the Lightning Craft Infusion multi-block, and in this episode, we're going to be building 8 of these to satisfy all of our Lightning Craft needs. Alright, so real quick before we get into today's episode, I have went in here in between episodes and I moved the drives from up here, and I've also added this one, which has a priority of 10, and this is where we're going to partition our drives. Eventually we will have 41 partitioned 64Ks. But these things are expensive, so we're just going to add them over time. And I've also added this tower here of void jars. And so every drive that we partition is going to have a void overflow jar. So this priority is going to be on 0. And this priority of this drive, which is just the random one stored in here, is at -10. So it's going to prioritize storing in here. If it can't store in there, then it'll go to here. And if it can't store in either of those, then it'll go to here. And that's just going to allow us to store some of these items like Procantio and Xanimus, which we were running out of, and we weren't having room in these drives for them. And what I actually figured out is if we start with the highest, we can pull all of that out of these drives and put them into here, and then have them voided. And in that scenario, it opens up a lot of space for other things to fill in these drives. But now let's get right into the progression of chapter 22. First, we're going to need to build our portal to the Arcana. Now that we're here, there's a few different quests we're going to have to complete. And this area is a maze, so we're going to have to explore through the areas, find different rooms, and collect the materials that it's asking for. And this very first quest actually gives us levers as a reward. And we're going to have to use these on certain doors throughout the dungeon. So let's see, what does this maze have in store for us? Living statues. Hey, those guys actually dropped one of the items we need for the quest. Degraded brick door. Okay. Arcanium extractor. Can I take this? I cannot. What about this side? Same stuff. Another door. Ah, raw arcanium. This is one of the things we needed. Captain Merrick? Well, hello there. You just sell weapons? Now that we have a few of these collector fragments built up, we can go ahead and craft our collector. And we'll use that in the arcanium extractor with some of this raw arcanium to get arcanium. Oh, and look, here's one of the libraries. Let's collect some of these bookshelves. Oh, we got to do this with Silk Touch. And I guess that wasn't the small library, because in the small library there's supposed to be a man named Lord Vaticus. Well, no Lord Vaticus, but I did find a war general. He doesn't really have anything too good though. Well, here's another library, but this appears to be the same as the last one. Datacon. That's one of the guys we're looking for. And we're supposed to trade him for 3 accelerons. And on top of that, he also has some of these furnaces that we need. These keys drop from the dungeon constructors I've killed a few of, but I'm not sure what they're for. I guess they're just the intended way to open these doors. Huh, this room is new. I wonder what's up here. We got some more furnaces and a chest. Hey, look at that. Something new in here. Dark prismarine. Oh, this is kind of boring. Oh, Kazari. He sells keys. Ooh, another new room. Dramic's altar. I don't know what this is used for, but I'll mark it in case we ever need to come back. Oh, Mr. Zealous here sells pet spawn eggs. And I kind of want to get one, but I don't know what I would want. I looked it up and none of them look too crazy. We're going to pass on that. Well, this room's new. What does this guy got for us? Just a bunch of different seeds, dirt, and grass. We don't need any of that. We found it. The library of Lord Vaticus. I need your wizard's book, sir. Well, now we know what that altar was for. So we need to put our wizard's book in the altar to summon one of these bosses. And they drop dungeon tokens. And these dungeon tokens are used to make more dungeon tokens, which are then used to make lightning charges. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and grab a few more of these wizard books. Alright, here we go. Spawn this guy in. Where's he even at? I saw him spawn, and then he just disappeared. But he's hitting me. Oh, he's invisible. Okay. I guess we can take this guy down fairly easy. Now, let's go ahead and spawn this guy in again. And I wonder... Okay, no, we can't catch him in a soul vial. That's unfortunate. But let's kill this guy with all the rest of the books we have. And that gave us a total of 50. And we can craft all of these down, multiplied by 5 into dungeon tokens. So that'll give us a good amount of lightning charges. It's nothing compared to the amount of ignition we got though. Well, that's all we needed from that dungeon. Now it's time to go into the next dimension, which is going to require us to make this nightmare bed. And in order for this nightmare bed to work, we're going to need to place it inside of a dark room. And it says we need a 2x2 area to come back to, so we'll leave these two. And then we can build this up. With this room built up, we can place our nightmare bed down, and we're also going to want an ender chest. Now, I've been saving this ender chest quest here to claim the reward for this specific purpose. So we need to color our ender chest in the overworld red, green, blue. And the reason we need to do that is so we can put all of our items inside. Because when we go into this dimension, it's not going to allow us to take any items with us. So let's make sure all of our items are out. And we'll hop inside. We're in. That was a little stressful. It took a little while for it to kick in. Now let's just dig down so we don't get killed by any of the mobs while we're here. And we immediately hit stone. Okay, let's just block ourselves in. Then we can come back in here and claim our ender chest. We'll place this down and we can grab all of our items out. Now that we're here, I'm just going to build a little safe room next to the spawn area. That way we can come here if we ever need to come back to this dimension. Alright, we got our safe room over here in this dimension with our ender chest. So let's start completing some of these quests. First, we're going to need to grab a tree. Cool, not spawned an int. Then we can craft these logs down into planks. And then into a wooden pickaxe head. So if you couldn't tell by now, this dimension is intended to reset you kind of back to the start until you can work your way up to the ender chest, which has a little bit easier recipe due to this dimension because of that. But since we had that quest, we actually are able to skip that part. And this dimension has multiple layers to it, so if we keep going up and digging our way through, we're going to be able to find more rare materials more easily, as well as higher tier mobs. And this looks like the top. Yeah, that's one of the things we're looking for. Firelights. I think we need 8 of these to complete the quest. Then we need to craft one of each of these ores using dreamstone and dream dirt. We also need a crafting table and a moonlight furnace. Then a crafting station, some blank patterns, a hirewood log part builder, a hirewood log stencil table, and a tool station. Following that, we need a couple of water buckets and a couple of regular buckets, 4 of each type of mushroom, and 4 mushroom stew. Then we need some of these fire crystals I picked up earlier, and we can craft these into a lava bucket. Then we need some sand, clay, and gravel. Let's see what's in here. The hunger. I can trade with you. Dirty pearls for dream melons. That's what I need. I also need 2 regular melons and 2 glistening melons. And some soul sand and some soul vials. Some blaze rods. 2 ender pearls. And 2 eyes of the nightmare. All of the materials to make a Tinker's Construct smeltery. Some Invar ingots. And I think we're at a point now where we need to just start grabbing mobs so that we can powered spawner them. And there's one more quest we need to complete before we're going to be ready to head back home. So we're going to fly around and look for another dungeon here. Well, it said a dungeon, but these are the blocks that we need. And that should be all of the quests that we actually need to be in this dimension for. So let's go ahead and head back home. And we can go ahead and complete these last few quests fairly easily. First, we need a biodiesel bucket, then 27 blast bricks, 27 coke bricks, and an engineer's hammer. Next up is some steel ingots, energized osmium and steel casings, 2 heliosis lamps, which I picked up while I was there, and a regular white ender chest. And that completes the exploration section of this chapter. Next up, we need to finally make our lightning charges, which we are missing thunderstruck weather containers for. But at this point, it should be easy enough to set up our own environmental accumulator at the base. We just need to break this one so that we can get the environmental accumulation core. And we can craft up the sanguinary environmental accumulator in our advanced crafting table. This thing is going to receive its power from blood tanks. We're going to need 8 of these. And then we're going to need somewhere to actually set this up. But I think we just put our weather containers in here. Okay, I threw them on the ground. Do I have to like shift click them in? What happens if I put one of these in here? We get a, when the rain begins to fall, we get a weather container for rain. We need thunder though. Maybe this Serenade Striker will work on this too. Seems to have worked. Yeah, now we're cooking up a whole lot of these things. And if we need to automate this later on, we can, but I don't see us needing very many of these past lightning craft. But let's go ahead and get into it by making our first set of lightning charges. And I've avoided it for so long, but it's finally time that we have to make some cloud seed and make our scepter of thunder. I think we can really just do this manually at this point. It's not going to need to be automated as far as I can tell. So we'll get down 2 vats. First one's going to get water, pulverized silver, and ice. And we do also need to hook power up to these. Then when that gets done processing, it's going to give us cloud seed, which we'll push up into this top one. And that one's going to get electrum blend to give us the concentrated cloud seed. We can place down a bucket of that, throw in a power core and a crystallized gold cluster to get our scepter of thunder. Using that with some lightning charges, gold blocks, and cold iron, we can make our golden club. And basically all this thing does is allow us to summon lightning. So for the next quest, we're going to need to go with a diamond, a gold, and an iron. And then we're going to strike that with lightning to get electricium. And we're going to need to do this a few more times. But I'm wondering if we can do it with the Serenade Striker because it has much more durability and it's easier to craft. So let's give it a go. It does work. Oh, that's so awesome. Then we can use those to make some thunderstone, which is needed along with a few other ingredients to make our lightning infusion table, which once again gave us another trophy. Now this thing, if we put it down, is going to allow us to do infusion recipes, like that ingot that we just made without having to drop it on the ground and strike it. But before we can do that, we're going to have to generate some LE, which I'm assuming stands for lightning energy. And that's where these terminals come into play. So we can go ahead and make an iron, and we're going to want to upgrade this all the way up to a copper tier. And to store that power, we're also going to need a lightning energy cell. So with these 3, let's see if we can get a basic setup and figure out how this thing works. So I think we can just put the infusion table down with the energy cell next to it and the terminal on top, and then strike this with lightning. And is that storing it? It doesn't look like it's storing it, but maybe it has to be done with the golden club. Yep, when we do it with the golden club, it gives us LE. So we're not going to be able to use the Serenade Striker for everything. So if that's the case, then it's probably going to be best if we go ahead and build a more permanent location for this. Well, actually, down here we do get access to a multi-block to do this with regular power. So I'm not sure this setup's too necessary, but what I was doing is setting this up so that it would extract out, put it into the item repair, repair it, and then go back into the mechanical user. But I think we're just going to play it by ear for now. But for now, let's just batch up some of this electricium. Oh man, that is slow. I can definitely do this quicker and easier just by doing it manually. But we will need to throw in some of our thunderstone and a skyline chunk to get a Skyfather ingot. And for the next step, we're going to need some demon blood, which I believe drops from these guys. So we're going to powered spawner one of them. And now that we have some of that, we can set up recipes for demon stone. And to start off with, the quest calls for 8. So we're going to request for 8 of these. And then we can set up a recipe with 2 of these in the auto infusion matrix to make an underworld charge. And this room's getting a little cluttered, but we are going to need to make another portal. This one's significantly smaller than the other ones though. So we build this up with 8 demon stone around the outside, and then hit it with the underworld charge, and we can head inside. And there's 2 main things we need from here. One of them's going to be this under creep, and the other one's actually going to be this guy, the skeleton guard. And we can also grab these demon stone bricks from the structure, which we can chisel back into regular demon stone. And we can set up powered spawners for both of these guys. And continuing down this path is blocked off by this. So it looks like we're about to have to get into the multi-block. So let's first make 4 of our Skyfather ingots into plates. And we can use those to make our advanced lightning cell. And in order to do our next craft, we're going to need more lightning charges, which we're missing clean pearls for. So let's power spawner the twins from that dimension as well. Now we should have everything we need to make the electrostatic generator. Following that, we need 4 more Skyfather plates, and we can craft our lightning upgrade. Then we need to craft our copper air terminal into an electricium air terminal. And then one more time into the Skyfather air terminal. Now that unlocks the quest for us to get into the next modular machine's multi-block. So let's start gathering this stuff together. Well, we got all the pieces to the puzzle, so let's see if we can't put it together. Alright, we got it put together. Let's test this thing out. We're gonna attempt to batch craft 1 stack of electricium. So all of the items are in. It's processing. It really doesn't feel that fast. But I guess we can just build up more of them when the need arises. There is also options for improving the speed, but we don't have access to either of these right now. So I think we'll probably end up just making a couple more of them. Odds are we're going to have to pass with some recipes in it anyway. But right now, I want to add another crafting CPU. And I guess we never set up recipes for this stuff, so let's go ahead and do that. Well, that's much better. So I'm going to go ahead and put up probably 2 more of those multi-blocks out there. And then I'll check back with you in a minute. There we go. That's very nice indeed. Now, these next couple quests lead us to mystic ingots, which are needed in a ton of different recipes, including draconic cores, which we'll need a ton of. So let's automate it real quick. First, we're going to get down to crafter. I take that back. This is not as simple as it seems. We're going to have to automate this guard's bone meal to make the empowered underpowder. But yeah, like I said, this is not as simple as just crafting the bones down. Instead, we need to get down 2 alchemy tables. The first one's going to get 2 wheat and a bone meal to give plant oil. And the second one's going to get pulverized coal, gunpowder, redstone, sugar, plant oil, and a water bottle to give basic cutting fluid. And we could limited item filter that with guards, bones, and petroleum dust into one of our multi-blocks. And that'll give us guards bone meal. Then in the next one, we need to limited item filter diamonds, gold, and iron. And that'll give us electricium ingots. And we'll need to send those into a crushing factory, where they'll get crushed down into electricium dust. And we'll have that get sent to the last one with guards bone meal and underpowder. And actually, hold on, before we do all that. Well, anyway, that does give you empowered underpowder. Now, before we actually use this last machine for a passive process, let's make a couple more of these things, because we are still going to need to do some other crafts. Well, there's 2 more, but I can tell from looking at these other recipes that we're going to need at least 3 more of these things. Now we're going to get on making those in just a second, But one thing I could tell from looking at the recipes is that this electricium can actually be made from blocks instead of ingots. And hopefully by setting it up that way, we should be able to get this stuff a little bit faster. Another thing I want to do in an attempt to make these crafts a little easier is add a crafter with scorn bricks and thunderstone. Oh, and we'll also need to add recipes for skythorn chunks. These two will be crafted into the internal buffer though. And with that stuff now on passive, we can use the thunderstone and skythorn chunks to passive skyfather ingots. And with all of the input ingredients now on passive, it should make it much easier for us to create the rest of our machines. And there we go. Now we have all of the machines that we're going to need, I hope. So anyway, in the next one we're going to need emerald, skyfather, and demon blood, which will give us ichor. Then we'll need to get down another crusher. This one will receive skyfather ingots and output skyfather dust. We'll send that into the next multi-block with empowered underpowder, and that'll give us divine underpowder. And then on our second to last multi-block, we'll send in empowered underpowder, demon stone, and ichor to get mystic ingots. And our very last one here we're going to use for on-demand crafts. So we'll get down an interface going into the input, and then we'll extract out of there on the white channel back into the interface below. Now this one right here that's making mystic ingots uses demon stone. And to automate this, we would have to do infusion crafts. And on top of that, we would have to have demon hearts automated, which means we would need regular hearts automated. But in order to get these, we need to kill probably witches is the best option within a theme. Or we can wait until we get the mob loot fabricator and make them this way with life essence. And I think that's what we're going to end up doing. So for now, I think I'm just going to fly around the underworld dimension and pick up as much as I can. 900 should be enough to last us quite a while. With that done, there's two other things that we need to automate before we're ready to move on to extreme reactors in the next episode. The first one's going to involve level emitting a precision dropper onto bottled frostfire so that we can make cold iron on passive, which is pretty easy. We just need to level emit the conduit on redstone high, or let's say 128 cold iron, and then we'll pick it up with a ranged collector and send it back into the drawer. And the reason we needed to go ahead and get that on passive is so we can send it into an alloy smelter with black iron ingots and divine underpowder, and that'll give us mystical iron ingots. And that has us ready to get into extreme reactors in the next episode. And for the remainder of this episode, I'd like to get some building done. We have a lot of finished projects that have unfinished buildings to go around them. Alright, I've done a fair bit of cleanup, especially right here around the blood magic area. I'm honestly pretty happy with how this build turned out. It has its flaws like any other build, but I think it looks pretty cool. I also went through and placed in a bunch of dark glass that we were missing in a lot of these rooms. That was well before we had the squid farm running. And now we have almost 400,000 ink sacks. So it's not an issue anymore, but dyeing the glass black was a pain for a while. And I've also cleaned this area up a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure if this thing is going to expand out some more. And if it is, then I don't want to have to tear part of the building down in order to do that. So I think this is going to be all right how it is for now. But I feel like this build here is pretty unique, so let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. But I think this is where we're going to end this episode for today. I thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. And if you did, make sure to drop down into the comments, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.